Hello, welcome back to my channel. I almost want to say welcome back to myself as well. I took a bit of time off, about a month. uh, I don't really want to bore you guys. My next video will be kind of like a chitty chatty video. But more or less, I just moved to a new place and quarantining. It's just been a weird month, so excuse my absence. But for this week's video, I really want to do something that I'm constantly getting asked about on TikTok, as well as on YouTube, and that's how I draw my faces. I'm definitely no expert, and I think probably in a year or two I'll want to redo this video and update it for you guys, but I figured I might as well go ahead and talk about how I do it now. But yeah, so we're going to be drawing faces today. I'm just going to be making them up in my brain. I'm not using any references or anything. So I'm going to be using my Prismacolor colored pencils. I like to do most of my sketchbooking, sketches and stuff in colored pencil. I don't know, to me it makes everything a little bit more fun and relaxed and colorful, and pencil, whenever I sketch in regular graphite pencil in my sketchbook, I find it gets smudgy and it doesn't archive as well. I don't know, it's just, I started doing it and then I couldn't stop. I'm gonna use a darker color just so you guys can see. First things first, when you're drawing anything, not just portraits, is you need to be loose. If you're sketching out and you're doing hard lines, you're not going to be able to erase it, you're not going to be able to, it's just not good. Always start doing these little rough circles, and I'll decide where the center of the face is, if it's straight on, if it's a 3/4 view, portrait, anything like that. And then I'll usually decide where the bottom of the chin is, a little bit of the jaw, no big deal. All of this is done very light-handed. For reference, I'm kind of like this, whereas if I was writing hard, I think you get it. And then I usually kind of go straight down the side of the circle, right? And then I usually go in and do a line where the eyes, and then a little half line where I kind of want the mouth to go. And then I might even circle in kind of where I want the nubby chin bits to be. And I usually throw in a little circle where the nose is going to be as well. I remember when I was younger, and I remember always seeing my art teacher or other adults and stuff doing all of these lines. No, I don't need to do that. So unnecessary. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that's a bit immature and flawed thinking. So if you're a bit younger, or just new to drawing in general, and you've resisted doing these sort of lines and stuff, I definitely recommend you give them a second chance or a third chance. And I think the key is making sure you're doing them light, you're doing them sketchy, you're just throwing them in. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think when I was younger, I stressed over measuring out the width of the eye and all that stuff. And if you're wanting to do photorealism, you probably do need to do that. But we're just out here doing a semi-realistic, illustrative kind of style. So I don't care. And then, of course, if you do want to do more cartoony, you can adjust this. If you want bigger eyes, you can adjust that. If you want a shorter face, longer face, bigger nose, smaller nose, however your personal style kind of comes into play, you just do that. But keep in mind, I'm just showing you how I do things in my style. Alright, so we're going to come over here, we're going to slightly larger scale do what we did over there. Just gonna do a straight on for today. Throw in a vague circle for the nose. I even like to sometimes do 2 small circles on the sides of that big circle in the middle for the nostrils. Again, depending on, we'll get more into depth in that later, but depending on your nose can depend on how you do those circles. And then from the corner of the nostrils, I'll do a line like that, and that's where the inside of the eye goes. And I just gotta stick those wherever. Alright, so we've got our face kind of framed out. No biggie. Let's go ahead and start with the nose, just because I was thinking about that. So for the nose, you've got your circles here, right? You got a big circle and then 2 little circles. You then kind of come up into those little circles and down, and you don't have to, not every single line needs to be a hard, dark line. You can kind of break it up. See? I mean, it's pretty simple. And you can shade, add highlight, all that stuff depending on your lighting source. No biggie. But if you want a different nose, you want something a little wider, then you just make those outside circles a little bit wider. I mean, that's the great thing about drawing, is you can just do whatever you want. I mean, it's 100% up to you. And of course there's different ways to draw a nose depending on, if they're looking up. I would usually do kind of a triangle with little circles. And then you got these it's like an A and a P. I don't normally draw straight up the nostrils, so I don't know for sure if that really looks good. And then if the person's looking down a little, and then you've got the nose being kind of pointed down. Yeah, I feel like you get it. We're just gonna kind of keep it simple and a straight on nose over here. Pretty basic, not too big, not too small, just a nose. The simplest way to just shade a nose without any crazy lighting, just throw some on the bottom. Every now and then I like to really accentuate the bridge of the nose by doing this kind of like up and swoopy thing, but that's optional. Alright, so mouth. So when starting the mouth, I like to start with the very center, kind of darkest bit right in between the 2 lips, and then I like to kind of go in and do the corners of the lip, which is once again one of the darkest areas. Most lips point up and down, kind of just going up. Some kind of point down. It's really different for everyone. And then when you connect these 2 lines here, sometimes it has a little bit of an arch, sometimes it's straight and flat. It's just those little nuances, and it's completely up to you how you kind of go about doing that. Again, that top lip, some people have really defined cupid's bows. I am one of those people. My cupid's bow is very sharp and defined. Some people have just like a smooth top. If you guys are familiar with Steven Universe, but Amethyst, I always think of her mouth. It's like this perfect little like triangle and then circles. Sometimes I like to give my character's mouth like that. I think there's something kind of like cute and endearing. I actually don't often do super defined cupid bows. Again, some mouths, you'll want that upper lip to kind of go up and then in. Sometimes it's just, think of little birds, how you used to draw birds when you're in like elementary school. Something like that. And then the bottom lip, I usually don't define too much. I'll just shade right at the underneath and kind of bring that up a little. Just defining that inner corner. Get those outer little bits. Doing the outer bits, was probably one of the most defining moments for me in my drawing style. Also, the upper lip, if we're just doing simplified shading, the upper lip I always just kind of shade darker, kind of like Kim Possible. So I wanted to give her not a super defined Cupid's bow, and then I'll just shade that in. Get a little bit more depth down the bottom. We'll shade underneath this lip. Do it kind of dark in the center, and then kind of fade up on the edges. And of course, you can add a little bit of shading wherever you feel like it needs it. Now, my favorite part of any drawing is the eyes. But before I draw the eyes, I usually like to kind of frame it in with eyebrows. A lot of times I don't know if I'm going to be drawing someone with a monolid or a hooded eye or a double eyelid. I never really know that until I'm here and I'm drawing, and I just kind of like go with the vibe and think about what eye shape is gonna kind of suit the face and the nose and the mouth I created the best. So I usually like to kind of like draw out with the eye socket very lightly, and I'll go up and over, just kind of feeling out where I think an eyebrow should go. Just super light, because colored pencil, you can't, like, if you're drawing light like this, you can erase it mostly, but once you start going in dark and hard pressure, you really can't, so be warned. So the brows aren't done, but I am gonna just leave them like that for now, and now we're gonna go in to do the eyes. I always start with this upper lash line, and then the bottom lash line I don't press very hard. You go in and then you come down a little bit, and then it connects. A little bit of the tear duct. Drawing this size, I'm not gonna be able to get all these details in, and I don't really care. And I'll explain that a little bit more here, but I'm just gonna walk you through the basics over here. Then I'll just kind of put in the eye. I think a big mistake I used to make when I was first starting to draw the entire like circle inside of here, but it looks more realistic if like the top quarter or even sometimes the top half of the eyeball is under the lid, and then you'll have this up here. If you were to make this a monolid, you would simply have this line come down and connect right here. I'll do that in a different color so you can see. So if this is a monolid, you would want it to connect here and go like that. Pretty simple. You would simply just shade it a little different. So yeah, I'm gonna have that there. Extend this a little bit more, and then if you like to get super detailed, you can put a little like poofy eye bag down here. It's pretty realistic. And then basics for shading an eye, I like to do, so you have a circle in the middle for the pupil, and then I'll decide where I want my super bright highlight to be. Shade this in super black, and then do a little bit of shading along the top half of the iris. And then I like to define the edge of the eyeball like that, and then a lot of times I'll go in and start to darken up the lash line a bit, and just kind of make it darker around the edges, and throwing in eyelashes. The biggest tip for eyelashes is they don't just like come straight out of this lash line, they kind of come down and then up. That'll give you the most realistic eyelashes. And then the ones in the most center will go like straight up, and the ones this side will go that way. it's really good if you shade some of the whites of the eye under here just a bit. It'll be a little more realistic that way. So doing eyes on a smaller scale is a little different. I just do the top bit of the eye, and then I'll throw in a circle, hit that darkest part, and then I'll kind of very, very roughly get the under bit of the eye, shade up a bit, got the eyebrow right there. Go in with a white gel pen to do the highlight on the smaller eyes. I'm going to sharpen my pencil because when working on a small scale, it's really important to have a sharp pencil. Alright, I want to make sure that that lash line is nice and dark, as well as the pupil. I want to define the eyelid a little bit more. I think one of my biggest mistakes when it comes to my drawings is I usually have one eyeball that is bigger than the other. Especially when recording videos and things, because I would usually want to draw with the paper straight on at me. But whenever I'm doing videos, I usually have it flat and I'm looking at an angle, so I can't always make sure my proportions are correct. So we have that kind of like flat lay eyebrow shape up there, and we're literally just gonna go in and do eyebrow hairs, just like that. It's all about being fluid and loose with your pencil strokes. If you go in wanting and thinking too much and wanting it to be perfect, it's gonna just look awkward. It's okay if you go over one area a little bit. In fact, it probably looks a little more natural that way, a little more bushy. Something that really helped me with drawing was, especially eyebrows, go and watch some like eyebrow tutorials, like makeup tutorials. So I'm just gonna kind of like block in some larger areas of the face for shading. Kind of the forehead. If I were to be drawing hair on her, I would probably, hairline would start about here. The ears are usually corner of the eye down to corner of the mouth, so they would be like here. And then you just, as you get to, you know, you start to like things more, you just slowly start to darken them up. I've recently gotten a little bit better at drawing hair, but I'm still not necessarily comfortable enough to do a tutorial on it yet, but maybe someday. I like how at the beginning of this video I was like, it's not going to be a boy or a girl, it's just going to be an anonymous face. You can basically take these simple principles and apply them in a number of ways to create tons of different looking faces, tons of, you know, expressions. These are just some basic guides, just kind of how I approach drawing a face. And for anyone who's a return subscriber, thank you for coming to watch this video, because I know I took like a month off. It's, like I said, quarantine's just been a little weird for me, and especially going into quarantine a day after moving to a new town. I was just in a really weird place, and making YouTube videos was not really anything I was interested in. So we have a fun project. I recorded a video during all of that month. I just didn't want to edit it and make it. That's going to be the next video. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, because we just might have a video next week on Monday, like I always promise I'll do. We'll see. If it keeps going on like this last month did, maybe not, but hopefully we will. I will see you guys. Thank you for watching.